Hello everyone, it is the end of the year and that means it's time for top fives. This one is my top favorite art supplies this year. So, as usual, I don't go look and see what I did last year because I want this to be like what I truly love, not like, oh, I did that last year, so can't do that again. So I don't even, probably similar things are on it. I think watercolor and Stabilo are, but I love Stabilos. These are Stabila Allmarks. I have, I think at this point, pretty much every color I can buy them in. If I could get more colors, if they had purple, I'd just like be so gleeful. But I got red, orange, I don't know where the red's hiding. They're all hiding, they hide. That's not a Stabilo. So I got like, red's not here. I got red, orange, orange. I really like the orange, it's very pretty. The red is really beautiful too. They can all be quite intense. I think the least intense one is the brown. But I got the red, the orange, the brown, green, blue, yellow, black, white. Where's the white? I don't use the white as much as I use the other colors. It does come in really handy sometimes when you're working on a dark surface and you need to sketch something out. And sometimes I do use it for highlights. But really the white's probably my least used one, but I still would rebuy this. What I really like about them is I can, if I'm sketching something out, because a lot of times the surface I'm working on, I've already put down a base coat of paint to use up an old palette or whatever. And it's a nice place to start as opposed to a blank sheet of paper or a blank surface on whatever type of support you've decided to use that day. And it's just an easy way to use up old paint from wet palettes. So when you're working over the acrylics, you can just wipe these off. So if you goof up, there's no erasing or anything like that, or worrying about smudging, you just get some water and a brush and wipe it off. And also they activate with water, so you can use them with watercolors, and you can also activate them with your acrylics when you're working with acrylics, and they just blend on in. So I really use them a lot. I reach for them all the time. The brown is really the most subtle one of them all. And there's times where I think, oh, do I really like one of the colors? And then I find I reach for it, use it. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. So Stabilo Marks All is currently one of my top favorite art supplies, just because I use them all the time. So this was kind of a hard one. This was a toss-up between heavy acrylics and watercolors, and I decided to go with watercolors because I made a concerted effort to understand how they work when painting a face. So I have several praying. All my prayings are really old. Several prayings, and they're still making praying. They come in plastic now. I have the older tins because that's what they had when I was a kid, was the tins. These are beautiful. If you are looking for a nice, cheapy watercolor palette, that's definitely not going to break any bank that you have. I definitely recommend the praying. They're translucent, they're beautiful, the colors they're just beautiful. Clear, translucent, bright. They're lovely colors to use. I would suggest them if you're getting started, or even just buying a palette for your kid. The Crayola ones tend to shift color, which is sad, even though they're super cheap, but these are pretty cheap and do really nice job. Oops, popped over. This is a little, and it's old, not well taken care. Yeah, it's been through a lot in its years, and this was This was the watercolor palette I bought this year. It's pretty excellent. It's a Chinese brand. Was like 20 bucks when I bought it, around 20. Really enjoy it. Nice tin to use when it's gone. I like the colors. I think this is the student grade one, but I've been enjoying it. It has some greens in it. I have a lack of greens in my current collection, so that felt like it took a... Yep, you're still doing your thing. Oh, this one that sticks to the top. This is pretty much all my professional grade watercolor core. This is mostly core, Daniel Smith, some Schminke, and then some other stuff that I acquired when I was doing art snacks. Daniel Smith and core, beautiful. Expensive, beautiful. Schminke, I have come to really like. What I've bought from them has been beautiful. So, yeah. It really depends on how much you want to spend on what you're doing. So, don't get too caught up in, I think. Alright, I had to move things closer. They were a little too far away. So, collage. Collage elements are always on my desk. I love, here's more collage that I created, a little face. There's always collage everywhere. This is stuff I've made, stuff I've pulled out of magazines, stuff I've kept from things, envelopes, craft paper, magazines, you name it. This is my current creation with collage. It's a spell board I made, got filmed for Illuminate and Activate 2020. Download bundle. Love collage. I love it incorporated into things. I love it straight up like this. Love it on top, in between. I just love collage. There's so much you can do with it. You can so much you can do with it. And if you're not particularly artistically inclined, it's a great way for things like spell boards, vision boards, dream boards to create a mood, create something to strive for. So collage. I just love collage in all its forms. It gets used. Here's collage, right there. That's where you take some other collage paper and paint over it. Actually, that might have been, I don't even remember if it was collage paper at that point, which works beautifully and creates this really cool painty collage. It's a really cool technique to do. I can't remember, that was from someone in Lifebook. I don't remember who. This one has a lot of watercolor in it. Where's one? Where's the void one? She's a good example of, not her. Where is she? Where is she? I think she's farther back. And she is. Okay, here's a piece with tons of claws in it. Let's go. Which way? I'm always backwards when I'm filming. So there's some collage right on top of the face. There's layers of the collage within it. Some of it's washi, some of it's stuff I've created. And you can just get so much. I like the texture it creates, even if you can't see it via even through the paint that you put on. It's just fun. Fun, fun, fun. So number 4 is the wet palette, and this is a butcher tray. You just put down wet paper towels, then a bit of parchment paper or wax paper if you don't have parchment. I'm losing my light. And then with this, I have to put plastic over it. I have another one that has a lid. And I do the same thing. Wet paper towels, the parchment, and then I just put the lid on that one. What I end up doing a lot of times is I set up a wet palette. I don't have one set up, or I'd show you that one. Maybe. No, it probably all fell off. So, no, I wouldn't. But you set it up. I like to set them up now, and that's what I just paint with until it's gone, or until I get bored. And then when it's almost gone, and I want to get rid of it, I just lay down colors in my art journal, do little mono prints with it for backgrounds, and I'll keep going with this until I feel ready to have it done. So and if you have more paint, then you just paint the little background. And that's where like the Stabilas work really well on this stuff. But the wet palette has changed how I use acrylics a lot. And I tend to, there's been propensity to work with them as a primary, as opposed to mixed media being the primary. Does that make sense? Way of creating using my acrylics. I've bought a lot of heavy body paints over the last 2 years because of working with the wet palette. You can use like soft body and stuff like that, but they get a little more soupy faster than your heavy body. But I've done it. I've used even fluid acrylics from Golden when I've needed something that I didn't have in a heavy body. And they get more loose very quickly, but compared to like a heavy body. But they do work. So one thing I go to over and over again, especially with acrylics, even if I am currently painting in a mixed media manner, I tend to set up a wet palette and then just go with it for that week or the next 2 weeks. I've had them last, I haven't pushed it past a month really, but I've left some lying around for quite a while before I came back to them, especially if I'm working on a couple big projects or filming like class like the Cosmic Earth Allies. That one I ended up with a couple palettes going at the same time. And so, I wasn't always using them. And in that class I show you how to set this up and all that fun stuff. And how to use it up when you're done with it. But yeah, wet palette, oh man, revolutionized my life. So the last thing is art journals. I love my art journals. I started binding my own pretty quickly. I tried, the spiral bound, I think it's called Strathmore Visual Journal, which I did like the paper on, I gotta say. I don't like the spiral. The spiral's kind of a deal breaker for me. And then I tried a bound one. I really disliked the paper, and it said it stayed open. It did not stay open. And the paper, I didn't like it. I tried another smaller one with a different paper, and it won't stay open. So I found like duct tape binding on YouTube, and I tried that, and frankly, not so awesome. If you're not really going to use a journal hard, you might be able to do the duct tape binding. If you're like just doing written journaling, I found it did not work out. Even the small ones kind of wonk. The medium sized, and I also did a large one. I did 3 of them, and like a really big one. Big one is currently in the TV room in chunks, and I gotta figure out how I can patch it back together. I think I'm gonna have to sew it into a Coptic or some kind of sew-and bound. So I started doing Coptic binding. I'm getting better at it. I still really kind of suck and mess it up all the time. But I have yet to have anyone fall apart. It opens even in the middle, and not in the middle, it opens. So art journals, they are for me a place just to go and play. I don't have to, I feel when I have a separate piece of paper, or I'm working on a rigid support like canvas board or particle board, I need to create art. And when I'm in the art journal, I can just mess around, goof off, try out new techniques, work on old techniques, improve, have fun, and just go. If it doesn't turn out, it's fine. It's okay. Because it was just for fun. And I really think the art journal has helped me improve as an artist over the years. I counted up. I have 6 bound ones at this point. I think it's 6. It might be 7 of this size. And then a variety of a smaller size. Once you get it down, it doesn't take that long to do. I say it probably takes maybe an hour tops between folding all your paper. Okay, the part that takes the time is gluing this stuff on. And then I glue a piece of paper so I can create. And this is another thing that drove me crazy in the commercial ones, is you have this blank spot, but they don't give you paper to paint on. So I put paper on there. I think on some of them I just painted on the front anyways, or the first page as you open it. So I put paper on here. So the main, and basically this cover is the cardboard for the paper. Really easy way to do that. Not too hard once you start learning how to Coptic bind. I've tried other manners of binding, and this is the one, the Coptic binding is the one I keep coming back to as the one I really, really like. So art journals, especially my own homemade ones, are still there. They're still in the forefront of my artistic and also my spiritual practice, because I do a lot of spiritual work and things like that within them. So, okay, my light's about ready to go. So I'll leave you. Those are my top favorite art supplies: the Stabila, Allmarks, Watercolors, Collage papers, wet palette. Love my wet palette. Actually, homemade wet palette. They do have ones you can buy through like Dick Blick's and stuff like that, but mine's pretty much a do-it-yourself one. And then art journals. So have a wonderful day and go out there and be the love in the world. Bye-bye.